It's kind of not good. Well, yeah, still good morning,
It's
isn't
still
it? Good morning, everyone. It's Friday. It's my favourite day of the week, as you can tell. If this show was on a Monday, you might have seen a bit more of a somber mood for me, I think. But Friday, yeah, Friday's good. And this is the first show, a new series called My First Game at Upton Park. And yeah, it's been kind of in the back of my mind for a good few months. I'm really happy to get it sort of off running. And obviously, the first guest is a special one. Good old sort of friend of mine from sort of a lot of things we used to do and hopefully do more going forward. So, first of all, it's a welcome to Gatesy. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing all right, mate. I mean, it's a bit blowy out there, as we were discussing before. We've obviously you've hit go live, um, but yeah, it's not quite as bad as I was. I was expecting sort of like trees and cars and power lines, and the worst that I've seen was my wheelie bin outside my front door has been knocked over. But it's caused a bit of traffic chaos because we're right by the Dartford crossing, so the bridge is shut. So it's just caused absolute chaos on the roads. But yeah, all good this end, mate. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Like you said, I'm busy, kind of at work doing a few things, and also kind of the channel's probably running for two months now, I think, something like
Mhm.
that. So yeah, we all kind of know the work that goes behind it, but
Yep.
yeah, things are settling down. I think it takes a bit of time to get it going, and then once it's gone, then yeah, and like you said, the way I'm doing it, mate, which I'm happy to share, is from my channel. You won't know how many subs I've got, anything like that. I don't even look at it to be honest. I want to be focused on good content, having a good laugh and enjoyment, and don't want to be part of the usual some channels rat race in subs
Mm,
and things like that, mate. I
yeah.
don't want to be part of that. If it's good, if it's original, people will join on slowly. There's no targets or anything like that. So yeah, that's what it's all about. And what about you for your channel now? You're nicely established now, over a year, I think, is
Yeah,
it?
I mean,
Yeah.
we're just concentrating on pre-match and post-match. I mean, we did a stream for the transfer deadline day, so pretty much same as yourself. Which I got to be honest was quite a slog because obviously, as far as we was concerned, there was nothing happening, and just as the day went on, you're getting more and more frustrated because we all know where we needed to strengthen, and we didn't. And even even a loan signing to the end of the season, Jazz would have at least got us going. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, sort of thing. But nothing. It was really. I woke up that morning with a little bit of hope, a little bit of a spring in my step, thinking, "Oh, we might get someone in. There might be a little bit of a curveball that David Moyes throws." Nope.
I'll tell you what, yeah, I think deadline days and signings and things like that are obviously one of my favourite things, following football really. And I couldn't believe it. And I cut, even though I was there for a lot of hours, I did cut the show short. I had a longer break in the middle of the day than I would have, because nothing was
Yeah.
going on, mate. And I thought I'd be crazy to carry on. There's not much to talk about. And I was
No.
physically drained and mentally drained, mate, because nothing
Yeah.
was going on. We're all scratching our head saying, can't be. What the hell are these people
Yeah.
doing? They're running and, effectively a business, and they're doing well despite sort of one or two players out short. And you're going to give all that away, mate. I
Yeah.
keep going
I,
back to that. Yeah.
yeah, I completely get what you're saying about you felt drained because I don't think it was just the transfer day that was the draining part. I think it was the entire month of all the speculation, names being linked left, right, and centre. Some of the names being linked were credible, some of them were just ridiculous. And you obviously have to try and sort of like separate one from the other. And it probably started about a good 2 weeks, maybe more, before the window opened as well, all of the speculation. So it went on for probably a good 6 weeks, and that last day was just like, oh, please just shut that window. We know it's not going to happen. Shut the window and let's just crack on with it.
I think so, but still, there's back of our mind that they were trying to, again, they had a whole month. And to summarize it, it's just like, if you remember the summer window, some people are saying, oh, it's really hard to do business in the winter. And I said in the summer, it's hard for us as well. We don't do anything. And the couple of players like Velasic, Crowell, they were signed with literally 2 days to
Yeah.
go, I think. Yeah, we're going to have to wait until David Moyes retires, brings that lovely book out and read it and really find out what's going on. This is, I'd love to be in a fly on the wall, so to speak, and that kind of find out, because I don't understand, mate, what's going
Yeah,
on.
it
It,
is.
it,
It beggars belief, but it's done now. We're stuck with it until the end of the season. So we just got to muddle on. I mean, the only crumb of comfort that I take is that when you look at the teams that we're in direct competition with, they haven't strengthened either. You look at Arsenal, didn't bring a player in. Manchester United didn't bring a player in. People turn around and say about, well, yeah, Tottenham brought 2 players in, but they let 3 go. So they've actually made their squad weaker by a 1 player, essentially. Whether they've made it stronger in quality terms is another matter. But that's the only thing I'm thinking sort of like maybe gives us a bit of a chance still of that glimmer of 4th place. I still maintain that for us, if we could get European football some way, somehow, whether it's by winning the Europa League or by our league placing, doing that in 2 consecutive seasons in terms of our history, that is massive.
I think what I've read is the players have had a kind of an emergency meeting, which makes me feel a bit optimistic that they realise that there's something mentally they're not right either. You and me go there regularly. It's been flat atmosphere. I myself, admittedly, have been flat. I've not been up for it. I've not expected anything. We've made hard work of some of the victories.
Yes.
And just the sparks missing. And I blame, it's David Moyes, it's Sullivan. We needed fresh people on the bench. Because as fans, we imagine a reasonably good signing, and you and me would have that extra spring in our step going to the match, thinking, God, I'd love to see this new guy, Yeah.
Exactly what Glenn's put there in the comments, said about the little sparkle that Jesse brought. And it was that little bit of a, jazzing it up, little bit of a sort of like, let's shake this up a little bit. And it really did help our season. I know some people would turn around and use the argument, but we were 4th when he walked through the door and we finished 6th. So he didn't really. And it's like, oh, come on, 16 appearances, 9 goals, 5 assists, and you say he didn't sort of like have an impact. Come on.
He did, and if he didn't come in, and well, with 2 points, didn't we? 2 points away from Champions League, and we would have got it if we'd also brought in a Rice replacement when he was out towards the end. That cost us a bit. So we all know where we went wrong last season, even though great things have been done over the 2 seasons, but typical West Ham way. Yeah. Hopefully we'll hang on. It's a crazy season. No one wants 4th, do they, mate? They're all kind of doing Spurs and Arsenal cancelling
like
games.
Pass the parcel with 4th place in the Premier League, isn't it? I've got it now. You've got it now. You've got it. Oh, I've got it back again. Crazy.
It's absolute nightmare. But the reason we're here is obviously, my first game at Upton Park. It's this crazy game, and I remember it quite well. I was at school. A lot of our younger viewers might not, but I mean, it is. Yeah, it's an amazing scoreline, mate, and it's kind of milk cup. That's what it used to be called. Everyone back then. And if you remember, I think Liverpool won it 3, 4, 5 years in a row back then.
Did,
I think.
Yeah. I think maybe 3 or 4. Yeah, they were pretty dominant at that time. Not just in domestic football, but in European football. They were, and I'm not a Liverpool fan, obviously, but you got to say it as it is. They were absolutely incredible team. This was back when sort of like before you had the huge squads that you do now. They probably sort of like utilized maybe 15, 16 players in a season in all competitions. Absolutely crazy.
I think so. And this is the time where you rightly said, I think in Europe they were the best team. They regularly in the European Cup final. So squad of 14, I think, wasn't it? And only 1 sub, Gatesy, back in those days. Only 1 substitute. And another nice big advantage back in those days, make the pass back to the goalkeeper. Do you remember that? How many times we used to see that? The goalkeeper would roll it out to the left back, right back. You give it back to him. You slowly pick it up, bounce it 10 times.
Clean your boots on the post, sort of read the paper. I mean, it was, and Liverpool were absolute masters of it. They were great footballing team, but they could take the sting out of a game when they needed to by utilising that very tactic. Just pass it back to the goalkeeper, exactly what you say. Goalkeeper will hold on to it for what seems like an eternity, bouncing it around and whatever. Roll it out to one of the fullbacks. He passes it to the centre back. He moves it into midfield, moves it back into defence, gives it back to the goalkeeper, who picks it up again for another couple of minutes, bounces it around, and it just, like I say, it's people say it's cheating. I don't think it's cheating. It's utilising the rules and making them work for you.
I think it also, there wasn't much added injury time back in those days. Not many goals at the end. Penalties, I didn't think goalkeepers tried a lot back. They just used to fall on one knee, and if it came straight at them, all good. And they never really tried to save them. So a lot of different things, wasn't it, back then? Really,
Yeah,
definitely.
A lot of people watching this probably won't appreciate a lot of what we're talking about because we're a couple of old farts, and sort of, a lot of the people watching this might be sort of a little bit of a more recent vintage, and so this probably won't. But there'll be some people out there that will be, I can remember all of that, and probably a bit further back as well.
And another thing just come to my mind is to get a yellow card in those days, you really had to do something serious, like hit someone or punch someone, or you'd really wouldn't.
Some of the challenges you see, and it's like some of them weren't even fouls. Nowadays, it'd be a straight red, off you go. It's absolutely insane. I mean, I was watching a clip from, and this was sort of in the 90s, so this is Premier League era. And it was a challenge by Vinnie Jones of Wimbledon on Eric Cantona of Manchester United at Selhurst Park. Nowhere near the ball, didn't play the ball, literally just sort of like waist high, straight across him. It was given as a foul, but I don't think there was even a yellow card given. It was like, mate, honestly, if that was today, it wouldn't even be an argument. It'd be straight red, off you go, early bath, see you later.
And another nice thing was players never complained. They got up, rolled their sleeves up, and they kind of said to themselves that I'll get you later on in the game in my way. Didn't really complain too much. And yellow cards. I mean, the one from behind, the tackle from behind, that was a bit of a naughty one. That should have perhaps. That used to get a lot of players injured, didn't it? That one was a bad one. From also, right behind,
back in the day, I mean, sort of like a couple of years prior to this game that we're obviously talking about, the 1980 FA Cup final, Paul Allen threw on goal, and was it Willie Young from behind? Just no intention of playing the ball, just trip him up, And again, that's another thing that nowadays, last man, you take down the player who's through on goal, cleared goal storming opportunity, denied, red card. Back then, nope.
There's a nice picture I saw, Gatesy, at the end of that game with I think it was Willie Young, you mentioned, giving a cuddle to Paul Allen at the end with his arms around him. So it's like you said, it was a proper man's game, and it was soon forgotten after sort of full time. You shook your hand, didn't you, even though you'd been at each other all game, I think. So Glenn Marshall, obviously remembering Greavesy, Saint and Greavesy programs, mate. It's a routine we had as kids, isn't it? Saturday morning, we'll wake up, there'll be football focus. Football focus, and getting to the games, and then the video print or whatever they used to call it at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Wrestling would start at 2. My granddad was a very fond of the wrestling. Yeah, Dickie Davis.
He's still got the tash. Last time I saw a photograph of him, he's still got the tash. It's a bit more grey, a bit more white, but he's still got it.
God bless him. And the other thing, Gatesy, was none of us knew what games would be highlights in the evening and on the Sunday, because they only used to select 2 or 3 per program. So you always wanted your club. And halftime is when you used to find out, because they used to show the ground, didn't they, in the halftime review with John Motson or sort of Brian Davis or one of those guys, really. Glenn, goalkeepers had no protection.
No.
Definitely, mate. We've had finals in the 60s.
You had to catch the 50s. Ball back in those days, didn't you, Jazz? You a lot of the goalkeepers nowadays, they're told to parry it, or punch it or whatever. But back in those days, goalkeepers were sort of like catching it.
Glenn, you're gonna have to tell me, did you used to spit in your hands and rub them together, which I used to watch a lot of Indeedy.
Yeah, had to be done.
And did that really work? I mean, actually, Casey, you're a goalkeeper, weren't you? Having said that,
I used to do it, and I've got no idea whether it helped me or not. But it was just something I saw the professional footballers doing, so it's like, well, if it's good enough for them, I'm going to do it. I
know, crazy, isn't it?
Craziness.
But what we're going to do? We're talking about the 1983-84 Mill Cup. Second round, second leg again. Some of our really young viewers might not know that the second round was 2 legs. And I think all of our previous generations, our sort of grandparents' age and the age before, who set the game of football up, I think some of the rules are still to the day really good, relevant. Even I used to like Cup Winners' Cup, UEFA Cup, European, all that kind of. I think all of it was, and this is obviously, when you think about it, it's to make money for the smaller clubs, because you always guarantee they home tie in this format. And I think that's quite a clever thing. Before we start, I mean, October 1983 is the date of the game, and just to see what was going on
25th
in the world.
Of October, 2 days before my dad's birthday.
Oh wow! Wow! Wow!
Who obviously
kind
was
of
the guy that took
amazing.
me.
Yeah,
I would have been about 7 then.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the world news to kind of let's remember a lot of nuclear war. People are afraid of nuclear war between obviously the US and Russia at that time. Apparently, October the 22nd. I think this game is 25th. So 3 days before, there's a huge march in London over nuclear disarmament happening around there.
Oh,
Really,
that's CND and all that.
yeah. So it just reminds me that, and perhaps the all the mining, all the miners striking
Yeah.
around this time, that
Arthur
was
Scargill.
always in the news. That was big. Iran-Iraq war,
Yeah.
the Russians in Afghanistan. The number one song, October the 30th, mate, is Uptown Girl, Billy Joel.
Billy Joel, yes. Great song.
So perhaps they played it when you were there at the ground. It's hard to remember, mate, back in those days.
Very probably. I mean, as I say, I've got the match itself. I've got no real recollection about. I've got more recollection about going to the game, who I was there with, and sort of like the peripheral stuff. Essentially, the actual match. I've got, like I say, I was 7 years of age. It was my first game of football with my dad and a few of his mates and whatever, because my dad had a season ticket back then. But the actual match, I mean, I didn't realise until a short time ago that Bury actually missed a penalty during this match. And I was like, I don't remember that.
They did. We're going to go into that in a minute. The other number one before Billy Joel, mate, was Come Camellia with
Boys Yours Culture Club.
That was the one in September, so I certainly do remember that. So what we'll do, like we always like to look at the programs, don't we? So let's get the program up and remind, because I have this one.
This I do remember.
Yeah, I do collect them. So yeah, you can see
Phil Park's looking very cold.
Angry, I think, a bit angry, concentrating really. So looking at the program as we always do, mate, it's 50p. It's 50p. It's a 7:30 kickoff, and the match is sponsored by Unigate Dairies. God bless
there
them.
you go.
I do like a glass of cold milk, mate, but I'm the only one, I think. So where did you live at that time, mate? If I don't mind asking, roughly the region.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely happy to be asked. We lived in a part of southeast London called Kennington, which anyone that knows anything about cricket, that's where the Kennington Oval is. Lived there with me mum and dad, obviously, my younger brother. At the time this game was being contested, my mum was quite heavily pregnant with my other brother, who is now hurtling towards his 40s, which makes me feel really old. But yeah, we lived in Kennington at the time. It was a block of flats that was owned at the time by Prince Charles, so the Duchy of Cornwall. Yeah. So, and in the same block of flats was me nan and granddad, and there was lots of members of my family lived in this sort of like block. Aunts, uncles, great aunts, great uncles, cousins, all sorts. So we was all sort of like in there, and it was a nice little sort of family sort of environment for me growing up. But yeah, that was where we was coming from. And just on that, because I know probably people will be asking the question, why did you support West Ham when you're a southeast Londoner? Surely you should have been, because where we were located, if you went 4 miles in that direction, you were at Stamford Bridge, and if you went 4 miles in that direction, you was at the Old Den. Why did you support West Ham? Well, it was because of me dad. Well, okay, was your dad an East Ender? No, my dad was from Kennington as well. But the reason was he was trying to pick a team to support. My granddad, who was obviously his dad, was an Arsenal fan, but he never ever put any pressure on him to support Arsenal or anything like that. He just said, make sure you support a London team, but make your own mind up. 64, West Ham won the FA Cup. That was that.
I think very good advice. It is something that I get a bit annoyed about. Yeah, you've got to support, hopefully, a London team. That's great. I mean, you could have easily supported at that time, perhaps, Liverpool, Manchester United, Leeds, maybe. dare I say it, Spurs, who won the 81 FA Cup, 82 FA Cup. You know, a lot of children our age would have loved, where you look at FA Cup and you never know really. But yeah, Oval, Kennington Oval, I think they've done a lot of renovation work to it, and they're happy to say it's one of our still premier grounds in the country, isn't it? I think it comes to test matches and
funny
things.
You should say that. There was something that come up on my Facebook timeline, because I told you when they did the 100, we went to a couple of matches there, and we saw the development that they've sort of done Oval Square, and they're still doing other bits and pieces around it. Something come up and it sort of said, oh, you can buy an apartment there and it gave the sort of like the price range. So if you've got a spare £750,000,
Right.
I think you can get a 1-bedroom flat there. If you want to push the boat out and you've got about 1.7 million, then you can sort of upgrade a little bit. It's crazy.
I know before we go off topic again, I know Lords are in the middle of a huge improvement phase.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're trying to do, I think, is raise money privately. That way they're more in control of what's going on. Because I think last time within their grounds and land that they own, they gave permission for some private residential properties. But in return, they had to give them some power in terms of when games could be held, that kind of thing. And it didn't do them just. If you remember, Lords was one of the last grounds to get floodlights because of the area. They didn't want it. It's a very, very rich area. And they did, and they are shaped certainly, in a certain way, not to disrupt anything. So that they're in the middle of that, and they've got a target to do. So we'll see how that all develops, really. But over a lot of history there, really. But going back to 1983, I had a quick look. Like I said in the program, we're actually third in the league, mate, leading up to that game.
Some things never change, eh?
West Ham were always in the top 4 or 5 leading up to Christmas, as we remember. So this is that period. We're 10th, just behind Man United and Liverpool. If you look at the lineup, it's very familiar names. It's Parks, it's Stewart, Walford, Bonds, captain, Martin, Devonshire, Witten, Goddard, Swindlehurst, Brooking, Pike. So you're so lucky that you've seen Brooking and Bonds, mate, live. That's amazing,
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm actually just looking here on, because obviously back in those days they had and again, this is something that younger people probably won't appreciate, because for many years now you have a program and on the back and you've basically got every single squad player there, whereas back in the day they would print a program that was what they thought would be the manager's pick. But sometimes you'd get to the ground and you'd discover, Trevor Brooking isn't playing, it's such and such. Do you know what I mean? So I've actually got the lineup here on 11v11.com, and it was Parks, Martin, Stewart, Walford, Bonds, Allen, Brooking, Devonshire, Pike, Cotty, and Swindlehurst, and the substitute was Neil Orr.
So Allen is in, Paul Allen. Right, there you go. Yeah, Paul Allen, I think he was player of the year 85, then he left and Wardy came in. Again, I keep asking people because of history. I want to clarify and dig out why Paul Allen left. I think it's contract issues, but to go to Spurs and leave John Lyall, I don't know, that's a bit controversial for me, I think. I'm not sure.
I don't know, because obviously the Allen family, as well as having close ties with West Ham, they had close ties with Tottenham, because didn't Les Allen play for Tottenham back in the day? And obviously Clive played for Tottenham, Paul played for Tottenham, so there's plenty of sort of connections with both clubs for the Allen family.
Talking about Neil Orr in the middle of the program, mate.
I remember that.
There you go, easy. Playing with his dog over there. I've got to clarify. Someone told me, a good friend of our channel, that in the first leg, which you won 2-1, he thinks Paul Hilton has got the Berry goal in the first leg.
I'll tell you what, if you want, I can just back out of this. There, it doesn't actually say on here. I don't know if that's what you've been told. I will take that as the truth. I don't know one way or the other. I wasn't at that one, as I say. But yeah, I mean, and again, for people that possibly don't know the history of the club, maybe at that point, Paul Hilton was the centre back for Bury on that night that they conceded 10 goals. And a short while later, John Lyall looked at him and went, "You'll do for me," and bought him.
There you go. And description in the programme for Paul Hilton is that he's a defender, tall, commanding, adventurous, bright features predicted of the former schoolboy international who started his Football League career as a striker born in Oldham. For me, just being honest, I don't think we should have signed him. I don't think he...
Yeah.
I mean, it was hard to replace Martin and Gale anyway, but when he came in, not quite there. Got the odd goal, I think, Chelsea or Spurs in that famous 85-86 season. But long-term replacement, not really. Glenn's going back to the spitting thing with the gloves, mate. Yeah, that's why I used to spot Mervyn Day doing it.
Yeah.
He thinks it didn't help, mate. I don't think it...
Probably didn't, but when you're a kid and you see the pros doing something, you do try, you say, well, they do it, so I'm going to have a go. So probably didn't help.
Unless you drink super glue and spit a bit onto your hands and onto that.
I've heard stories about that, chewing gum and
Don't think. Well, talking about that again, going into cricket, we know what a lot of the Aussies used to get up to, didn't we? The fast bowlers, a bit of sun cream, a bit of lip balm, and
sandpaper.
And then the Pakistanis, good old with their coins, was it digging their nails into it and all sorts.
Or the bottle tops.
Lifting up the seam and stuff like that, really.
Yeah.
Before we go into the game, obviously, the headlines after were like, Hot Shots just buried them alive and things like that going
headlines, on. Buried alive and all the play on that.
Yeah, before we go into the game, I mean, how did you come to sort of attend your first game? How was it all planned out? Was it to do with your dad's birthday or something else like that?
No, I mean, as I say, my dad was a season ticket holder at the time with... with my uncle Steve and a few other sort of lads and whatever. I guess they'd all go to sort of West Ham. To be honest, I'm again, and I've been racking my brains about this because I can't even remember where we were in the ground. I think we was side on the pitch, not behind the goals. So and I'm like, was it the chicken run or was it the main stand? As I say, my recollection of the match itself, being that I was 7 years of age, I've not really got any recollection. If you're going to ask me, can you describe the 4 goals that Tony Cottee got?
No,
without looking. I mean, I've got a tab on here where I've got it on YouTube, and I mean, I could watch it, and but do I have an active recollection of it? No. As I say, I remember going to the game. I remember it was obviously an late October night, so it's
bit cold,
bit damp, dark, whatever. The crowd wasn't it wasn't a full house by any stretch of the imagination. The crowd was, I mean, looking here, the attendance was just under 11,000. So it was quite sparse. But I just remember sort of like going to the ground, seeing this, obviously the stands, which obviously to a 7-year-old kid look absolutely enormous. And then obviously going in, burger, Coke, whatever, and then sort of spending pretty much the 90 minutes of the match watching the goals going in, obviously getting quite excited, and obviously being on my dad's shoulders and various other people as I got passed along, whatever. And then sort of it's one of those things that latterly, obviously, it's a sense of sort of not pride, but that I was very lucky to that my first game is a game that is intertwined with West Ham history. It's not sort of like a bog standard game. It's not a game that's like, oh, it was a sort of like a 2-1 defeat to Rotherham in the League Cup or something like that. It's like this is a game that is still to this day West Ham's all-time record win. And I was there as my first game. It's like, bloody hell.
I think the one thing we've got in common is both our first games are evening games. Obviously, for me, it's the floodlights, the pitch. The pitch is the only thing you can see, isn't it? It's everything else is a bit dark in the crowd.
Pitches back then were a bit different, weren't they, Jazz, to what they've got now?
bit of a wrestling mud and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Not very clear, but I think night games are extra special. I don't think you probably remember how you got your tickets. Did you pay on the day? Did you pay for them in the post? I mean, yeah, it's going to
that
be
was all
hard, isn't
sorted
it?
out by my dad. I mean, like I say, I
Yeah.
was 7 years of age. Like I say, it was just, come on, we're going to the football. And I'm like, oh, great. I mean, I don't know how season tickets worked back then. I mean, I remember when I got my first season ticket, which would have been about 96, something like that. And your season ticket then entitled you to obviously all of the league fixtures, and you also got the first 2 home League Cup games as part of the deal. So whether that was in the League Cup, or one was in the League Cup, or one was in the FA Cup, or they were both in it just depended how the draw worked out, sort of thing. But if you had 2 games at home in the cup, you got the first 2 as part of your season ticket. Whether they did that back then, I've got no clue whatsoever. But let's say I just went there, and I remember that, like I say, that coming away, that everybody was sort of like buzzing about sort of like a 10-0 scoreline. Yes, all right, the opposition wasn't a sort of top tier or second tier, opponent, but at the end of the day, you can only beat who's in front of you, and 10 goals put past any team, it's quite impressive.
I think what my dad used to do when we went in '89 was he used to bring up the ticket hotline, pay by whatever credit card, and then we used to get them posted to our house, pay for tickets. That's all, because we didn't have season tickets. That's what he did. But if you're really local, then perhaps you could just queue up at the ticket office and get it that way, or pay on the ground. Glenn's saying it's all pay on the. Yeah, that's what I reckon, mate. A lot
Might
of it.
well be, probably, as I say, I was 7, so I've got no clue.
We didn't sell out, yeah. But a lot of that reason is the economy. People were struggling for work and all kinds of things, making ends meet. It wasn't easy in the 70s and 80s, so that's a lot of reasons for that as well. And perhaps some of our parents had to work on a Saturday. For I remember, my dad used to. Yeah, that could be another reason, really. But and then, do you remember the journey home? Was it quite probably hour or so back to the other side?
I probably fell asleep, to be honest with you, Chaz. I mean, like I say, it was.
Have you got the program still?
I've still got the program somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Like I say, I remember the program with Phil Parks on the front, and his face was sort of like an off blue. And I was like, well, either there's something gone wrong with the print, or he was bloody cold.
You're right. It is gone a bit weird, isn't it? Like that. Do you remember eating anything at the ground?
Yeah, I think it probably would have been
couple of pints of Heineken.
No. Probably a burger and chips or something like that. I mean, to be honest, again, it's you probably didn't have the sort of wide choice of sort of like food that you've got, food and drink.
No, I wonder if they did have burgers and I don't know.
Probably, like I say, and if they did, it probably would have been burgers and hot dogs, and that probably would have been about your lot. Now you go to London Stadium, and there's all sorts of different foods that you can choose from. I would have thought back in the day it would have been an awful lot more basic. Like I say, I think probably the best I'd have got would have been burger or a hot dog or something like that, but or maybe a packet of peanuts.
I think that makes sense. I think peanuts I've definitely heard about, and apart from that, I wouldn't have a clue. Perhaps people just sat before they went and got back, because I'm guessing. I think a lot of the crowd, very local on the trains, get back home fairly quickly. I think back in those days. Do you remember any of the goals in terms of celebration, jumping in the air, or anything like that?
No, as I say, the match itself, as I say, it's something that I've seen it on YouTube since, but I can't honestly say that even watching it, that it sort of like made me go, oh yeah, I remember that. I like I say, I think I was so excited with going to the ground. Like I say, I remember going to the stadium. I remember, like I say, going in my dad's van at the time. I remember meeting up with his mates and all the rest of it. The actual match, like I say, even watching it on YouTube, the highlights, I can't honestly say it's jogged any memories. It's like I wasn't there, but I know I was. So
Yeah, yeah. But that is the time when my first memory as a West Ham fan is January the 1st, 1983. So it's around not far, 10 months before that.
Mm.
Before like the 82 FA Cup final, it's just a buzz. I don't know any. 80 definitely no, I ain't got a
Yeah.
clue about that. 82 maybe. 83 I watched that one. I think that was the Brighton Man United one, I think. Yeah, I do remember that. But yeah, it's like you said, it's that age where some of it's not quite clear, I think.
Yeah, I think you get sort of overexcited, if that makes sense, as a kid. I mean, if I was, I dare say, if I mean my sons, their first game at Upton Park was a 5-1 win against Burnley in the FA Cup. I think that was under Avram Grant, so that would have been around about 2011, 2012 season. I'm fairly sure it was around that time. I think if I was to ask them, do you remember anything about that game? They'd probably look at me and go,
Yeah.
well, we remember it was 5-1, and we remember that we had our photograph taken with John Hartson, who was there with, I think it was ESPN that were doing the broadcast of the match in the UK, and they got their photograph taken with John Hartson. But I think if I was to ask them, can you remember anything about the goals? They'd probably go, not really.
Yeah, I think that's kind of fair enough, really. I mean, in the main photo, we got that's Tony Cottee signing the hat trick ball, really.
Yeah, he got 4, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I'll quickly go through what happened, really. And apparently, Tony Cottee scored at the age of 19 with just 100 seconds on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was 1-0. We were 3-1 up on aggregate. And then Billy Bonds gave away a penalty at the age of 38. And yeah, John Bramhall slammed his spot kick against the post. And then the rebound went over the crossbar, really. So that was the let-off. Second goal arrived on 17 minutes. Ray Stewart lifted across to the far post for Alvin Martin to head it in. 3-0. And then on 23 minutes, 3-0, it was Trevor Brooking. 36 was he? I thought he was a lot younger than that.
I think this was this his last season?
Yeah, he
before he
retired
knocked
really
it on the
early.
head.
He did say he should have carried on for another season, he felt, looking back.
Did you ever hear the Canning Town Len interview that he did with Alan Devonshire, where Alan Devonshire makes the claim that when Dev got his knee injury, that was indirectly given as a reason why Trevor Brooking quit when he did. He makes the claim that had he not got the injury, Trevor Brooking would have very likely, not definitely, but very likely carried on that extra season. But when he did his knee in, Trevor Brooking was allegedly, according to Alan Devonshire, like, what's the point? We're just going to struggle next season.
I do remember you having now said that. Yeah, I do remember now. And also remember things like there was a big bid from Ipswich after the 80 final, a huge bid from Bobby Robson that I think, again, players only found out a little bit after. And Bobby went as far as to say if he hadn't got injured, he would have been in, for example, a regular in his England squads. Not sure why he didn't get in the 86 squad on the back of that season. Perhaps people like Barnes, on the wing, and one or two other players have come through. But early 80s up to 84, I think. Yeah, Devonshire was very highly thought of back then.
£2 million, I heard, was the figure.
Yeah, I heard it
was put forward, which when
nuts.
you consider, I think the next, and that would have been what, 82, something like that.
I think the bid
81,
probably
82.
Yeah, I think Ipswich. I think they won the UEFA Cup in 81 and finished second in the league. That was a very good team. I think Trevor Francis became the first £1 million player around 79, 80.
Yep.
So to double that, wow. I mean, Parksy was a record for us. Ray Stewart was the youngest, most expensive teenager. You never know. I mean, all we know is we said no. So, and John Lyle, he was right. As soon as he got injured, we struggled. And he said, if he's in my team, we're top 4. If he isn't, it makes a big difference. We're in the bottom 10. So, he kind of led everything, didn't he, really, for that? So let's see what happens. So, 3-0 Brooking. 11 minutes before halftime, Bonds heads it back for Cottee to get his second. Was it Okay, gets his hat trick 6 minutes before the break, running into the penalty area to head in Allen's right wing cross. So it's 5-0. So a lot of the goals are happening a lot before half time.
Yeah.
And then, Cotti makes it 6-0 with his fourth after the hour mark. And then 67 minutes, Alan Devonshire scores. Again, Dev, I don't think he scored enough for the talent he had. He used to just take it past 3-4 and slip it past the post. But on this occasion, he got a goal on 67 minutes. Then it's a Stewart penalty. 9 minutes left, 81 minutes gone. It's 9-0. Crazy, isn't it? Brookings deflected lob, 81 minutes, 9-0. And then 86 minute, 1-2 with Devonshire. It's 10 really. Do you remember going home after the game or leaving a bit early? I don't know.
No, we didn't. We didn't leave early. We, for the best of my recollection, we was there for the entirety. And like I say, sort of, my dad would have probably been driving. I remember my dad had an old blue Escort van. My dad was a carpet fitter back in the day, and I remember he had that, and I think he probably would have drove in that to and from the game. But I, to be honest with you, mate, I probably would have called the old wind's picking up here. Bloody hell.
It is where I am. Yeah,
It's
we're going to have to pick up the pieces tomorrow, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I probably don't remember much of the journey home because sort of like I would have thought 7 years of age. By that time, it's sort of knocking on about 10 o'clock at night. Probably I would have got in the van or whatever mode of transport was in, and probably just gone. You know what kids are like.
Did you go regularly after that, or now and again?
No. You know, my dad would take me the odd game here and there. That I say this was the first. I didn't start going regularly. Like I say, I got my first season ticket in 96. Before that, probably between about 92 when I turned 16 and 96. So for that 4-year period, I sort of went games here and there. I remember one game that I went to, the Anglo-Italian Cup. Which people watching this that don't remember it, but it was basically a tournament that was created between what was then the second tier of English football and the second tier of the Italian league structure. So, and we had a home game against Reggiana, if I remember correctly, and we won 2-0. And I think Clive Allen got them both. And basically, from that season on to about 96, I'd sort of pick and choose games. And then from that point on, I then had a season ticket from about 96 onwards. And I've pretty much had a season ticket for all, but there was a 5-season break where I didn't have a season ticket. And I just went to just reverted to going to odd games here and there. And then I've had this season ticket for probably the last 8 years now. So yeah. But as I say, this was my first game. The actual match itself, as I say, I was 7 years of age. I've got no real recollection of the game itself. I can't really give you an in-depth analysis of it or anything like that. All I remember, like I say, is going to the ground. I mean, similar to what Glenn's put there about where he said all he remembers from his first game was the steps up to the North Bank. He's got no recollection of the game as such. And that's where I'm at with it. I remember going to the ground with my dad, his mates. It was cold, it was dark, it was a bit damp, whatever. Like I say, the crowd wasn't exactly thronging. It was a bit sort of bare as far as that was concerned. There was a lot of goals going in. And like I say, I remember sort of turning up and seeing the stands and just thinking, my God, that's absolutely huge. Like I say, you're 7 years of age and you're sort of like, you're a wee sort of nipper. So anything looks massive to you, I guess. But yeah, and the program, like I say, the program's the other thing that sticks in my head because I remember getting it and thinking, bloody hell, he looks cold.
It is. It is very cold, especially that time. I mean, I used to always sit in the West Stand higher, so it's even more colder up there looking down. But yeah, I mean, it's a great historical game, and it's a historical day. Go down in Upton Park folklore, that game really. I don't know if you know that in the League Cup for September '86, Liverpool beat Fulham 10-0.
They did.
Yeah, so similar round, first leg. Yeah, 10-0 against Fulham, really. Steve McMahon, 4 goals. Wow.
Yeah, I think we share the record with Liverpool for the record victory in that competition.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone that's managed to put 11 goals past anyone yet, but
Well, the 10th goal for Liverpool was after 83, so they could have got another one in, I would have thought. But that is odd, isn't it, really? But yeah, it's nice. It's been good discussing the game and catching up with you. It's I think I think Gonzo's game is this one.
yes.
There's one or two other guests I'm talking to, and a lot of them looks like they've attended really good games, I think. So yes, it's a game not to forget. And I've got the whole game on DVD somewhere. I've got it. I think it's just behind me. I've got
Have
it.
you?
I haven't watched it in ages, but yeah, I've got all of it. Because I think the club did obviously try to make the most of it. In the club shop, they sold the whole game. I don't know how much of it they did it back then, but they've got on VHS cassette. They did sell the whole game to a lot of the fans afterwards. And I don't know how we did afterwards, but we did have a very good cup record on the John Lyle around then. Obviously, in '81 we got to the final. I think the year before this we got to the 5th round and Liverpool knocked us out. So yeah, we were always there around the quarterfinals under John, sort of around those '80s, and I remember now. But yeah, it's and then Berry, as you know, Gatesy, sadly no longer around, isn't it? Really, that's another thing.
Yes, yeah. I'm just looking here actually because the next round of this competition, we beat Brighton and Hove Albion
1-0,
1-0, but then the following round we come across Everton and 2-2 in the first game, and then the second game we lost 2-0. But just for a little bit of context, obviously Everton at this stage were a team that were just starting to sort of put a little bit of momentum, because they obviously, that mid-80s period, they had a pretty tasty team, in fairness.
That's a tough draw. Yeah, very tough draw, mate. So yeah, we would have made it hard. I think they won. Perhaps they won. Well, they won the FA Cup in '84 and the league not long after that, and the Cup Winners' Cup in '85.
Yeah, they won the FA Cup.
FA Cup, Watford, doesn't it?
'85, they were league champions, FA Cup runners-up, and European Cup winners. And a lot of people say that the following season, which obviously was when the Heysel ban kicked in, a lot of people are of the opinion that Everton team would have gone on to win the European Cup, but couldn't compete in it. But yeah, so we obviously we got knocked out of this competition 2 rounds later by an Everton team that would, like I say, under Howard Kendall, just starting to sort of gain a little bit of momentum. But yeah, as you say, we didn't do too badly in the cups, but it would be sort of we'd get to a certain point and, you know, it's the luck of the draw sometimes, or there'd be an upset or something like that. But typical West Ham back then, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've seen 89 League Cup semi-final defeat, 90 2 semi-final defeats in 90. Yeah, just getting close. 91, we would have, just missed out, mate. 1 or 2 occasions really, and 06 we all know about. And let's see what. Yeah, let's see what happens. That was a dagger
to my heart. That was.
To everyone's just no one's dare ever put that on and go near it or anything like that. It's just a dark day for us, and it's the time where Liverpool were winning most finals on penalties, if you remember. So we're not the only ones. Talk to Milan fans; they'll have a similar sob story, I think, and things like that, really. But yeah, the other thing with Bury, if I'm right, I think Bury's an area that's not far from Manchester. I think David Cross lives around there.
Yeah.
Famous for black pudding, is it, Gatesy?
I love a bit of black pudding. Love a bit of black pudding.
I think my son had white pudding in Edinburgh, Scotland, I think.
Yeah, I've only ever had actually white pudding once in my life, and it was all right. I've got no idea what it's made out of. I know that black pudding is congealed pig's blood. I've got no idea what white pudding is, and I probably don't want to know.
I've told you before, I still haven't tried black pudding. I still got to get around to it.
Have you not?
Yeah, no, it's just purely the description of it gets me a bit.
That
Yeah,
you just go, mate, I can't.
The blood, the fingernails, the hair. There's a bit of hoof in there crushed. I don't know.
It's a bit like haggis, though.
Yeah, I love haggis though. That's the weird thing.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, I don't mind haggis. I like haggis. Yeah, I call it a strong mincemeat taste, a bit of a stronger flavour, but I'm fine with it. But yeah, thank you for your time. I know.
Always a pleasure.
You can do head back on the highway, or are you going to relax a bit this afternoon?
I'm not too sure if I'm going to have to pick my son up.
Oh right. Yeah.
Because I had to drop him off before we sort of started doing this because he's got his theory test for driving. So he asked me to drop him off, so I've dropped him off there. So I'm not too sure how he's getting back. He said, "Oh, I'll get the train," and I'm like, "You probably don't even know where the train station is from here, mate." And I said to him, "I said, look, if you need picking up, just phone me." So I'll probably get a phone call.
You're going to the game on Saturday?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah. I'll be there. I'll be there. Probably have to drive and keep an eye on the weather. See how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite fortunate. Obviously, I'm quite close to Ebbsfleet International train station. So basically, the journey from Ebbsfleet to Stratford, it's about a 10-12 minute journey. Bang, you're there. So I'm quite fortunate there.
Yeah, got a cousin lived in Ebbsfleet, whole new development there going on, I think.
Yes,
so
a lot of work.
Yeah, so yeah, good luck with the channel. Hopefully, all
appreciate it. Likewise to you, Jazz.
Yeah, Forge from Mine's channel, and got anything planned coming up on the channel?
We got the pre-match later on tonight. I mean, for anyone that hasn't already subscribed and are wondering who the hell we are, as it says on the bottom there, Forge from Mine, West Ham United is on YouTube. Basically, it's myself and Duke, who's a pub landlord. And we try and sort of do a pre-match and a post-match. Obviously, with Duke's and mine, obviously we're both working guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be trying to jiggle things around and get a time that we can both do a stream and sort of sit there for an hour and have a chat like what we've done here, sort of thing. A lot of planning goes into it, believe it or not. And we just sort of sit down and try and work out, you know, I will sit there and I will say, this is what I suspect David Moyes will go with, blah, blah, blah. And Duke will sort of pick it apart and give his opinions on it. And we'll talk about where we think strengths, weaknesses of both teams, where we think the game's won and lost, score predictions, just general chit chat about the matches sort of like coming up and whatever. So, yeah.
It's partly for that reason you might have noticed I don't do previews, mate. I've chosen not to. I enjoy talking after it's happened, that kind of thing. But again, going back to a lot of research, a lot of guesswork on their formation, their best players, and I think you've been good in the past of getting oppositions on the channel. So yeah, well done to that. It's always hard to get hold of people from other clubs, mate, isn't it?
Yeah. Sometimes sort of like the stars just don't align the way you want it to. Do you know what I mean? So you just got to go with the flow. But
definitely, mate. But yeah, we'll catch up soon again, mate. Work more closely. So thank you again for joining in episode 1, and we'll be back with another one shortly, really, on my first game at Upton Park. So thank you everyone for watching, and thank you, Gatesy.
You're welcome. Cheers.